So you gotta acknowledge the music, okay?
Okay.
We are the champions.
Thank you for tuning in to the Seeds of Wealth and Wellness series. We know that you were inspired by these empowering messages. You have taken the necessary steps by listening and soon acting on these messages. Join us for our life-changing workshops held at 4609 West Broad Street, Richmond, Virginia. We can be reached at 804-355-7333. Seed. That's 804-355-7333. And remember, you are a champion at Seeds of Wealth and Wellness. Welcome to Seeds of Wealth and Wellness. I want to thank my host, Melvina Goodman, for being here with me, and I'm Mike Edwards with the Seeds of Wealth and Wellness. And we also have a special guest for you today. But before we get started, we want you to know that you are a champion at Seeds of Wealth and Wellness.
Yes.
And Professor Goodman, there's so much happening this past week, and you want to tell them a little bit about what they missed last week if they wasn't here.
Let's see, last weekend we conducted the Right to Vision, Make It Plain workshop at the Seed Institute, and it was an awesome opportunity and experience to see so many people there. So we really thank you for those of you that did attend for your support. And the guest that we have today will be able to elaborate a little bit more about what his experience was there. So the Right to Vision, Make It Plain workshop was designed to help people to identify personal traps that keep them from achieving their goals. And then this weekend, Michael and I will be facilitating the Prosperous Relationships Workshop, and we're really excited about that. And for those of you who plan to join us, it will not be a waste of your time, so we invite you to please come out and let your coworkers, your family members know about the Prosperous Relationships Workshop.
But hold up, Professor Goodman, what is a Prosperous Relationship Workshop? Again, am I going to get more money? Am I going to get more fame? Am I going to get more time? Tell me a little bit about
All of the above.
Fantastic.
Prosperous relationships is exactly that. So many times we find ourselves in relationships that are not win-win, or in your words, we may be in a relationship with persons that are parasites, that are takers and not givers. And it's so much better when you're in a relationship. We're not just talking about intimate relationships where there's romance, but just relationships, whether that's friendships, whether that's co-workers, mentor, mentee, sports, whatever that might be, that the Prosperous Relationships Workshop is to help us to identify our communication patterns, because sometimes the relationships are not prosperous because of a lack of communication. So we want to be able to identify our communication skills. We want to be able to create conversations and not confrontations.
You know something, Professor Goodman has a beautiful background in counseling individuals and people, with a background from Rubicon, being a project manager, and helping individuals being able to create a mission and develop a vision. I come from a business background also, where we help people write the vision down and make it plain. And together, she gives not only the wellness part, but the prosperity part as well too. And when she's talking about prosperous relationships, she's talking about personal relationships, but she's also talking about business relationships too. Many individuals fail to realize that when they create conversations and not confrontations, they continue to grow and develop. But on the other hand, some of us think we create conversations, but we actually create confrontations. And we do monologue conversations. And then we don't realize that when we go around the coffee pot, Professor Mel Goodman, and we see everybody scattering like roaches. Every time we come, at some point in time, we're going to get it that we're not having prosperous relationships. And then all of a sudden, I realize that I'm married, and then I get divorced. And then you always tell me, if I keep on realizing that I am the common denominator
That's
in
right.
all of these relationships,
That's right.
something is not going to work. I start things and don't finish them. I go to school and I don't complete it. I start homework assignments and I walk the hallways all day. It could be a number of things, but most importantly, if you're in business, you want to be in prosperous relationships. And if you are working on your personal development, you want to be in prosperous relationships.
And not only that, but also we're thinking about, the younger generation. And so as adults, if
But-
we're not modeling good behavior,
I'm young.
well, young meaning you're not 6 or 7
Oh,
or an
okay.
infant, because all of this begins at infancy.
Yes.
And so as adults or responsible persons, if we're not modeling how to have healthy relationships, we continue to have issues in our communities and in the world. So it's so imperative that we learn how to develop healthy relationships, and that's a part of what the Seeds of Wealth and Wellness is about. Wealth and wellness has to do with our relationships, because if we don't have good relationships with people, can wealth really, it may come, but I may not be able to maintain it. Even good health, because good health is based on good relationships as well. And the primary relationship I need to have is with myself. One, if I don't have a good relationship with me, then chances are I won't have a good relationship with other people. So self-love is important. And we're not talking about being selfish. We're just talking about loving the person that God created me to be, with all my foulers, bleeps, and blunders, with all my flaws. Loving me, because if I can accept myself, then I can accept the next individual.
That is so incredible, Professor Goodman. I read an incredible book, and I always talk about this book. This individual, John Maxwell, is one of my favorites.
Yes, he is.
And in order to change the world, I must change myself. But Stephen Covey wrote about the 7 habits of highly successful people, and I wrote about the 10 laws of Fordism. And the 10 laws of Fordism, we're going to talk about that during a session. But Fordism, don't look for it in the dictionary because it's not there.
Well, since you
it's the
brought
opposite
that
of
up,
recidivism.
why don't you just tell the audience a little bit about those laws of Fordism and how you came
I
to
do,
those?
but I want to let them know about one of the habits, 7 habits of highly effective people. And that's what the prosperous relationship was about. And then I was actually going to sneak the 10 laws in there. At least 1 or 2 of them.
all
Professor
right,
Goodman.
okay, all right.
But Stephen Covey talked about win-win. Business, and to be successful in business, you have to have win-win situations. To be successful in personal development, you have to have win-win situations. And to be successful in life, at school, you have to have win-win situations. And not lose-lose and not win-lose. I have to actually ask myself, as you want to do at this workshop, what a win-win situation is. Am I contributing to the relationship? Or am I a parasite? And everywhere I go, I'm stealing joy and happiness from individuals. But as far as the 10 laws of Fordism are concerned, I mention those 10 laws always. And the 3 that are at the top of that food chain, planning. And we're going to talk about planning. And also, Dr. Hayden is going to talk a little bit about how he plans to help individuals have successful life opportunities, going to college, completing the SAT program, and some of the wonderful opportunities that are available here. Prayer. And some people are religious, some people go to church, a mosque, a synagogue, but prayer is important versus praying on people. And there's a difference between praying on people and having a successful prayer life, being able to meditate, talk to the Creator, talk to God. And that's something important. And then presentation, we talk about presentation is everything. It's how I meet and greet people. Do I have the ability to smile? You imagine, Professor Goodman, me wanting to have a personal development in Excel and also in business development in Excel. And I'm always gritting on people. It doesn't work.
Do that again. That definitely will not create a prosperous relationship.
No. And
Yeah.
so you're going to learn so much from this workshop, and we are serving lunch there too at 4609 West Broad Street. Richmond, Virginia. And you can contact me on my cell phone at 804-381-7643, or you can contact Professor Goodman, and this beautiful young lady over here at
804-337-8654. And that workshop is going to occur on this coming Saturday, September the 21st, 9:45 till 12:30. It's $20, and so please, it'll be well worth your effort to be there. So we look forward to seeing you there. And before we bring our guest on, we do take call-ins. So at 9:30, if you're interested in calling in to get more information or to ask a question or to make a comment or to offer some information that you may have about resources out there, call us on the number on the screen. That's going to be 915-5202. So, Michael.
Now, we're getting ready to bring an awesome, wonderful, inspiring individual in the air. Dr. Hayden, you are in for a treat.
Yes.
Many people in our communities who have healthy relationships, who have prosperous relationships, who have successful businesses and successful marriages and personal relationships, we all realize that there's one law, and it's one of the laws of success. It's the law of reciprocity. I can only reap what I sow. The quickest way to be financially successful, help a lot of people. This is one man that's doing that.
Yes.
And he's not only empowering people educationally, but financially as well too. And without further ado, I want to introduce the preacher, the teacher, the public speaker, Dr. Hayden.
An educator.
Very good. Thank you.
Dr. Hayden, first and foremost, tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your background, please.
Okay, well, really, I grew up as a youngster in Goochland, near a town called Haydensville. I went to school there with my early education there in the public schools there, and then matriculated on to Virginia Union University, year in Richmond, and then to UVA, and then to seminary year at Richmond, Virginia Seminary. My earlier years, after going to Virginia Union, I had the opportunity to leave there, and then to, of course, my first principalship was in Charles City as an assistant principal at Charles City High School, and then I got an elementary principalship there, and so spent a number of years in education. But my early start really was when I got off to Virginia Union, having just a meager amount of money, only $64, and the tuition there was $500.
Wow.
But I had a lady named Alberta Jackson, Aunt Berta, we called her, and of course our foundation was set up in her memory. But Aunt Berta was the one who propelled me on that day to get into Virginia Union when I had only $64. And I worked in tobacco fields next door and making just 50 cents an hour.
50 cents an hour?
50 cents an hour.
That is unlawful, Dr.
8 hours a day,
So
$4 a day.
In 1960,
In 1960.
you were working in the tobacco fields
Yes.
in Richmond, Virginia,
No, in Goochland.
in Goochland.
In Goochland, near Haydensville.
Okay.
Adjoining to my father's property. He was a farmer also.
Okay.
And so Dr. Hayden came from a place called Haydensville?
Haydensville.
Okay.
Yes, sir. In Goochland County, yes.
Wow.
Now, you was the principal at several schools. What year and what schools were they?
Well, I started out, as I said earlier, in Charles City. At Charles City High School, I was assistant principal there for two or three years, and then I went on to being principal of West Elementary there. And of course, that was just an awesome experience in working with the students. And during that time, I was working on my master's degree at the University of Virginia. And of course, we worked with a number of students there, and particularly got the yearbook annual dedicated to me the second year I was there. And we moved to West Elementary, where we work with students and teachers there, trying to propel young students on to be successful. And I remember we carried about 35 or 40 students to sing in a boys' choir in Saltillo, Mexico, back in 1974. And we left Byrd International Airport. Just a great experience with some of those youngsters. And most of them now are moving on up in the middle years. So it was quite an experience to even help those students back in that time.
Now, moving from Professor Goodman to Pastor Goodman. Pastor Goodman, Dr. Hayden pastors a church too. Is that correct?
That is correct.